Welcome to Backstage 421, the musicians only podcast, with your host, author, and music lover, Charles Campbell. Charles will have an awesome array of guests from many genres of music, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. By the way, Ray Mattis is the composer of this awesome intro music.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Backstage 421, the musicians only podcast. I am your host, small town author Charles Campbell, and music lover. And today I have a very special guest. He is a gentleman from a band that I've been listening to lately, and I reached out to them, and he agreed to come on the podcast. So, welcome to the podcast, Al.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. Again, the name of the band is Need Machine. And they've got some awesome stuff out there. So I'm going to talk to Al about Need Machine and what they have, what they've worked on, and what they have coming down the pike. So I'll go ahead and get started. I listened to your album Killer Instinct from beginning to end, and that's a great album.
Thank you.
And one of the things that jumped out at me, and we'll get into your history a little bit, but I want to jump right into this because I'm a small town horror author, and I watched a video called "Scary Voices."
Yeah.
And it's one of your songs. So tell me about that video, man, because it had all the elements that I love. It had the imagery, it had the horror, it had all that creepy stuff in it. So if you want to give the fans a little background on Need Machine and how you guys made that video, Scary Voices, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, Scary Voices was so much fun because everybody in the band are horror fans as well. You know, we grew up watching reading Fangoria and, watching the crazy horror movies that we all love. And so, we were thinking, man, we really got to try to find a way to capture that in this video somehow. And, a friend of ours has a haunted farm out in the rural parts of around Seattle here. And we asked her, hey, can we go out to your farm? And she said, yeah, she loved it. She was there and stuff. And so that really made the setting really cool because, being there at a haunted old farm that's, 150 years old with a really super old barn and all that crazy, old barn stuff, hooks and big chains and everything hanging around.
Oh yeah,
just waiting to get someone coming around a corner and, hang them from the rafters. Just it made for a great set.
wow.
We had so much fun doing it.
Hey guys, I host a Horror 421 the podcast, so I could do an episode on that video. It hit all the right notes. And when you're speaking of the barn, we have a director of a horror movie called The Barn. He'll be on next week's Horror 421 the podcast episode, so kind of segues right into that. So let's get back into Need Machine a little bit. I'm very interested. First of all, they're based out of Seattle. Second of all, I'm very interested in hearing how you came up with that name. What's the origin of the name Need Machine for your band?
So it started with the song that we were writing. It was kind of an anti-greed song. And we kind of referred to greed as the need machine. Need more, more, need greed. And so we actually were called the Need Machine for a while. And then when we went to get the website, theneedmachine.com, a haberdashery in London, England had that already. I'm like, what? There's a guy at a haberdashery in London, England had theneedmachine.com. So we said, well, what about the need machine? What about French, the French word for the? And that's how the came about because nobody had the need machine. So we changed the name to the need machine so we get the website. And that's how we got is, we're kind of anti-greed, pro community, pro sharing with everybody and pro helping each other out. And that's kind of what we do, with the charitable end of the band. We really focus on that kind of stuff. And we want to, bring people together.
Yeah, well, I really think you made a right choice for the name because it sticks in your head. I'm not going to forget Need Machine, and it's a great band name. I actually love it. So Al, we'll get into more of the band stuff, but since you're on the podcast, I'm want to ask you a couple of questions. How did you personally get into music? What started your music career, and what kind of music did you listen to coming up?
Oh man, I was always into rock and roll. Even when I was a little kid, the first time I got, a record player, and because my parents were, classic, like old style, so they were, still listening to vinyl and stuff, and so they got
Oh
me a
yeah.
record player so I could listen to vinyl myself. So I grew up listening to vinyl, and that just got me into, rock and roll right off the bat. And I kind of went from, rock and roll right into classic punk rock was where I really started out with, the Clash, Ramones, the Sex
Yeah.
Pistols, and that stuff. And that's when we started our first band because, like, we're like, the cool thing about the first wave of punk is that they were encouraging everybody, hey, start your own band. Don't just let us do it. You guys get up here. You all got something to say. Let's hear what everybody has to say. So we started our band and we got going, and then kind of, if you've ever watched that movie School of Rock with Jack Black, where
Oh yeah.
you kind of get into music and then you do the whole thing end to end. You just kind of you go backwards and you kind of discover everything. And so I went on a backward trip. I started discovering, obviously the 70s, 60s era, 50s era rock and roll. Really got into the 50s stuff because to me, the 50s stuff felt the most like punk rock. You're listening to Eddie Cochran and Johnny Burnett,
Mm-hmm.
rock and roll trio, and and Carl Perkins, listening to those guys, and I was thinking, man, these guys are really punk. I mean, Johnny Cash, who's more punk than Johnny Cash? So I really got into that old stuff, and I was like, what preceded these guys? And then I started listening to some of the old blues and some of the
Oh
old
yeah.
the real country music, which is like Hank Williams Sr., Patsy Cline,
Yeah.
people like that. And so I started listening to them, and then I really, well, what it led to is some sort of a cross between, punk and roll, the kind of punk and roll thing that ends up being like Social Distortion, where you kind
Right.
of you got both sides to it. You got a little punk, a little bit of rock, and it's just kind of rocking attitude and stuff, and and kind of the Joan Jett approach towards rock and roll. Is
Oh yeah.
I mean, rock and roll is sacred, man. Rock and roll is sacred, and you got to treat it as such. And so that's what we've done, and so that's
Exactly.
how I got started. And we just started playing rock and roll. And we started writing songs, about politics, like the Clash said, politics with a small p. Politics with a
All
small
right.
p, and and socially active stuff. And that's where we went. And in Seattle, there's so much music going on here. You can go all the way back to like the Sonics. If you want to hear punk rock, listen to the Sonics.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's some heavy duty stuff. So there's so much going on here. That's really how I got started, just with so much music around me, just naturally to pick up bass, guitar, drums, everything, and start playing.
Well, that was a great story on your background. So that gives me a baseline on where to go with you, Al. We grew up probably around the same time frame. I'm 54 years old, so I listened to a lot of the same things that you did coming up. My mother, she was an Elvis fan as a kid, and my grandmother, as you know, when I was a kid, and he was still alive when I was a kid. And my grandmother listened to all the old country music, the real country music, like you said, the Hank Williams, Patsy Cline. She listened to Porter Wagner, Dolly Parton,
Yeah,
Loretta Lynn, all those
yeah, man.
real country folks,
Country
like you're
music.
talking about. Country music. You're
I
absolutely right.
discovered one day
So
you put Hank Williams Sr. together with some of the great blues artists, and there you have rock and roll. Put Johnny
yeah,
Hooker and mash those two together. There you got it. Elmore James. Elmore James. You put him with Hank Williams Sr. and that's rock and roll right there.
yeah. Hey, no, you're right. And when I think about it that way, you're absolutely right. Um, so tell me how you got this band together in Seattle, and I'm a little familiar with Seattle. I had a job where I had to go to Bothell, Washington, a few times a year, which is close to Seattle. But tell me how you guys got together and formed this band, La Need Machine, because I want everyone to give you guys a listen. You're so good, and everyone's so talented. So tell me the origin story of La Need Machine.
Yeah. So you have buddies you grow up with, and you start a band with your friends, and some of them keep playing, some of them stop playing. So like a couple of the people in the band are people we started hanging around when we were real young. Teenagers start playing right away, and some of those guys kept going. And other people were people we meet at shows. If you're playing a show and people are coming and watching and you're talking to them after the show, or if you're going to somebody else's show, and you're watching some band and you're really getting into a band and you see somebody, that's up front and it's like really rocking out and you're going, yeah, you go talk to them, say, hey man, I love that band too. They're awesome. You say, hey, you play an instrument and eventually find somebody that, yeah, man, I play, guitar, drums, bass, I sing, whatever. And then, we end up getting our singer here our producer, Bear Davis. He hasn't had a friend, the singer. When we were looking for a new female singer, our previous female singer was great. Lisa was great, but she wanted to stop performing, and so we were looking for a new one, and our producer knew Dawn, who's started singing we got right now, and she introduced us. We hit it right away, and she came in and she just dialed it right in. She's such an awesome vocalist, and so that's the way it is. It's always kind of like a small world thing. You run around, you find people, you talk to people, and that's how you get your band together. And then everyone kind of some people you grow with, and some people you bring in as you're going along.
Yeah, well, you spoke of Dawn, and the first time I heard her on one of your videos, her voice is so strong. It sounds like she could boom the room out if she wanted to, and it sounds like she has real control over her voice. Tell me a little bit about Dawn. What's her background? What has she done before? If you know anything about her, because she really had me intrigued. She's got such a great voice.
Yeah, she's an awesome singer, and if you go to karaoke night with her, she just blows the doors off of the room. There, I mean, there's not a song that comes on that she can't sing. Someone wants to bring up the hardest song on the karaoke list, she'll go in there and just kill it, and perfect, hit it just perfectly. So, she's that. She likes her. She does everything. She's got some of her singer songwriter stuff. She likes to sit down with guitar and just strum out stuff and sing, the coffee shop kind of stuff. And, she's been
Right.
in, also likes doing rock and roll covers and stuff and like that. So, she's got a wide variety of influences, and, she's just an awesome singer.
Yeah, well, she really stands out, man. You guys have a great lead vocalist, so
By the way,
shout
she's
out
a
to
she's a
Dawn.
workout warrior too, man. She works hard.
Okay.
She works out, pretty much every day, and so she's
Yeah.
tough.
Well, she really caught my attention, and I definitely would love to see you guys live one day. I know you mentioned you played shows. Name some of the places you've toured, and maybe do you have an interesting story or two from a tour stop? I'm curious about that.
I think the most interesting places we played are, around town. Seattle has some great clubs. As the Need Machine. We played at the Crocodile Cafe, the previous Crocodile Cafe, not the new one. I have to, I've been to the new
Okay.
one since they moved it several blocks to the north, and the new Crocodile. While I'm, a classics guy, and I love the old Crocodile with the post in the middle of the room. you know,
Yeah.
you could be standing right behind a post for the whole show if you weren't careful. That's the kind of stuff I love about old venues. But the new one is just amazing. So the Crocodile's a great place to play. We played a lot at the Central. The Central is a place where kind of grunge got its start in Seattle. That's where Alice in Chains and
Yeah.
a lot of bands they're identified with Seattle started out at the Central. We had a great show. I think my favorite show is we had a great show at the Central, and we were playing and we were going along, and the crowd was going crazy, and I was kind of like, man, we are really kicking butt tonight. This is awesome. Everyone's woo. Man, I just like, man, what I'm thinking, man, we are hot tonight. We're hot tonight. I'm thinking it's all us, and everyone's going, turn around, turn. My amp caught on fire. And that's why everybody's screaming it. They were going all crazy because flames were coming out of my amp. the the power the power amp inside the amp actually caught on fire and caught my amp on fire. Everybody they thought it was part of the show. It's like, yeah, rock
Oh,
and
yeah.
roll, woo! So,
Oh man, you were thinking, "Oh, this place is on fire,"
and
and
that's what I was
yeah,
thinking. I said,
literally.
oh man, we are killing it tonight. I can't believe how we're killing it tonight, man. This is a show to remember.
Oh man, that's awesome. So I'm gonna get back to the specific music a little bit. How involved are you in the songwriting process with the band, and How do you guys collaborate to come up with some of these songs? As a writer myself of fiction, I'm always interested in how people create things when they're writing, and yeah, just kind of give me an overview of that process and how you guys work together to create a new song.
Yeah, so I usually start out with a concept, and so what I'll do is I'll kind of do. It kind of reminds me of like a stand-up comedian where I'll
Hmm.
write a bunch of lists of subjects for a song. And, I know there's a lot of stand-up comedians do that as well. And I go down, I think about, I start charting out some lyrics to it and seeing kind of what the lyrics, what the feel of the lyrics are. And once you have the feel of the lyrics, then you can start attributing some music to it. Like, is this, heavy, super heavy duty? Is you want to be jarring with this song? Is it more poppy? Or kind of or whatever, and then kind of go from there. Then when we get together as a band, we've got a structure for a song, and we bring everybody in and encourage everybody to like, hey man, let's hear what you got to add to this thing, and it kind of adds together as a gels together as a song from a band song. So I usually come in with concepts, lyrics, structures, and then we piece it together as a band and come out with something really awesome. Then what happens is then we get to Bear Davis, who's our producer, and we get to Bear
Uh-huh.
Davis, and then we're getting ready to record, and Bear works us, and then we take those songs, and Bear helps us refine those songs even more, to where we record them and then we release them. So it's a multi-step process of starting out with a concept, then getting a structure around it, getting together with the team and playing, and then getting together with our producer. And Bear's just an awesome producer, man. He's a technical guy, and he's just a brilliant musical guy too. So he's both. He records us. We use the studio, Bear Den Studios, and also he's our producer as well. So he's just sharp as a tack.
Well, I'm always interested in the creative process. So, um, is it a lot of times you guys come up with the lyrics and then put the music behind it, or is there any ever any circumstances where someone has a great track or a beat or a some kind of hook and you guys put lyrics around that? I've heard musicians do it a couple different ways. That some write lyrics and then put music, and then vice versa. Just want to know if you do the vice versa any.
It's mostly starting out with a lyrical concept because that dictates what the song should feel like. But there are times,
Gotcha.
and, a band that I can think of that really did this was like the Clash. Bank
Yeah.
Robber, and that wasn't even supposed to be a
Yep.
song. They were just sitting in the studio and they just started messing around, and all of a sudden, you know, that's where Bank Robber came from. So sometimes we do that too. We'll just be sitting there playing around, and the drummer or someone will start just riffing, and then it turns into a song. So that happens with us occasionally too. But I think for me the most classic one that I can think of is Bank Robber, and they actually kept the producer or the engineer in the background saying, hey, you kids, stop messing around there. Basically,
It's
basically
like,
telling them, hey, all right, enough playing around. Let's get back to recording. And they're like, hey, no, we're keeping going, man. We got a hot song going. It turned out Bank Robbers like, a really classic Clash song to me.
well, I'm a '80s kid, so I listen to the Clash and I love the Clash, and that was an interesting story for me. I didn't know that is how that song originated, so I appreciate that for
Yeah,
sure.
next time you listen to it, listen to the guy. I can't remember exactly what he says. Says something like, hey, you kids, keep quit messing around there. In somewhere in the background. That's actually from like the producer or whoever was there the day. Time, hey, quit playing around and get back to business.
Oh man. So I'm gonna go back to a couple of the videos, and when I watched them, a couple, I think you maybe had multiple videos for a couple of songs or a song, but I want to talk about Carly's Revenge Part One, which is Herculean Tasks.
Yeah,
I watched both videos. One had the Alice in Wonderland theme going through it, but yeah, if you could kind of talk about that a little bit and how that came to pass, I thought it was an interesting video, and you had two different takes on it.
yeah. So we, our publicist A&R team, whatever you want to call it, Team Claremont. They're the guys that do our publicity and stuff. And when we were talking about Killer
Right.
Instinct, they were listening to some of the songs on Carly's Revenge, and they said, a couple of those songs, you're the recording is not up to snuff, in their view. And I agree on a couple of songs. The recording's not definitely not as good as it is on Killer Instinct, and he said, "Yeah, might take a couple of those songs and redo them for Kill Instinct in a way that the recording doesn't hold the song back." And so that's what we
Yeah.
ended up doing with that song. And sure enough, we went back in with Bear, we reproduced it. We changed the song around a little bit and got just a really great, a much better sound take out of it with it from a technical perspective that we had. And then the Team Claremont guys were like, "Hey, you might think about a concept for this song." And so we have a guy that's a video script writer. His name's Kyle, and he actually appears in the video as Kyle, as the bear. And Kyle, we just said, "Hey man, you got any good ideas for a kind of a script?" And he goes, "Well, what about an Alice in the Wonderland thing?" We said, "Yeah, Alice in the Wonderland, that's cool. I remember how Jefferson Jefferson Airplane did an Alice in the Wonderland take, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
lots of really cool takes on Alice in Wonderland. So he wrote the script for that, and that's why we went the other direction on that, and it just came out really cool. We've got Tim Noah in there, who's a pretty famous actor, mostly for children's programs and stuff like that. Interestingly enough, but he's got that theater, the Tom Thumb Theater, in Thumbnail Theater, I should say, Thumbnail Theater in Snohomish. That's Tim Noah is there with, and so we were able to use the Thumbnail Theater to film it all, which really made it all that much better.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking here. So your current album is Killer Instinct, and I know the folks can go to the website and go to your Bandcamp site and get that. But you were talking to me a little bit before the podcast. What do you guys have in the works right now? Are you working on something uh, that may be coming out in the not so distant future?
Oh, we have a killer video coming up here. We She Loves Rock and Roll. There's a song on our Killer Instinct album called She Loves Rock and Roll, and I was kind of surprised at how few people understand what that song is. I thought people would get it a lot easier. That song's a tribute to Joan Jett. I mean, if you listen
Oh
to
yeah,
if you listen to the lyrics, we wrote that song intentionally for Joan Jett because we remember when Joan Jett was nominated to be one of the top 100 guitarists of all time, and Ted Nugent was giving her a hard time, and we were like, we were pretty
yeah.
pissed about that way, man. We came down hard on Joan Jett's side. We said, screw Ted Nugent. We're on the Joan Jett side of this one. She embodies rock and roll to me. She's what it's all
Oh
about,
yeah,
man. It's she got the feel, the attitude, the songs, everything, and so we wrote that song about her as a tribute to her, and then we started getting ready to put a video together, and we thought, what'd be cool is to get Joan Jett actually in the video. So
yeah.
through our Team Claremont guys, our people sent the song to her people, and they played the song for Joan Jett, and she loved it, and she loved the song, and
Nice.
apparently it's like, as far as we know, it's the only tribute. I can't believe this is true, but it's the only tribute anybody's ever written about Joan Jett, and I'm like, really, man.
That's amazing to me too.
I
Yeah,
was I
man,
was
she's an
I was
icon.
shocked.
She is an icon. I mean, I was a huge Joan Jett. Well, still am a huge Joan Jett fan. I got a little collection of her vinyl on my shelf over here. I also listen to records. So, and my listening is, and I've said this before on other podcasts to female guests. My music's really estrogen driven, so I listen to a lot of female artists. A lot of female artists.
Hey, me too, man.
But
They're
yeah,
awesome.
Joan.
And so we
Oh yeah,
actually we said, "Hey, do you want to be in the video? We're gonna film a video for this. You want to be in the video?" And she was unable to be in the video, but what they did say, her team and she said, "Hey, if you gotta want to use some video clips of other stuff that Joan's got, you want to use it in your video, you know, please, we're happy to allow you guys to use some other videos." So they sent us a few clips. We sent some clips that we thought would be great in the video, and they said, "Yeah, these look great." So we put them all together, and we're getting ready here. Just well, next month in May, we're going to release the Sheila's Rock and Roll video, and it's really awesome. We really love it, and it's got you obviously it's a tribute to Joan Jett when you
oh
see her
yeah, yeah.
actually in the video.
Yeah, well, that's amazing that she lets you guys do that. I mean, not a lot of artists are so open to share their stuff that way. But you're paying tribute and homage to her. So I'm glad she did that. That's pretty awesome.
Man, she sent
And
us some
yeah,
T-shirts and some bags, and she sent us a bunch of stuff. She's really cool, man. I mean, she loved the song. She just asked, "Hey, how many T-shirts? What sizes? What kind of stuff? What kind of stuff do you guys need? I'll mail it right out to you." And they got it to us. And it was really awesome. So we can't
oh
wait till
man, that's amazing.
well, Joan. We're going to be at your show in Seattle here this summer. When she's touring with Brian Adams right now, we will be there right in the front, cheering her on, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, maybe she'll give you a shout out while she's performing.
That'd be great. She could use our song as a walkout song when she walks out on
Yeah,
stage.
man.
She can play Sheila's Rock and Roll as she walks out on stage. Yeah,
Uh, hell yeah, that would be awesome.
it would be.
Or even, well, take it a step further. If she would even perform it, that would be something to see too.
Oh,
She
baby,
got the lyrics and
that'd be
you
like a
prob-
dream come true, man. Total dream come true. I
Oh
like the way you
man.
think, man. Set your sights high.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah. Well, I do all the time, man. I ask all kinds of questions and requests, and I told my wife, I say worst they can say is no. You know,
Exactly.
worst they can say is no.
That's exactly it. That's what Other people in the band are like. You're asking Joan Jett if she wants to be in the video. I said, yeah, why not? I mean, the worst you can say is no. I sent, I even sent Dave Grohl a message. Say, hey, do you want to play the drums? Because, Dave Grohl is a big Joan Jett fan too.
Oh yeah,
And we
yeah.
thought, he was there for her introduction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he's a big Joan Jett fan. So we weren't able. There was a lot of stuff going on with the Foo Fighters, so we weren't able to get Dave Grohl into. But I did try. Say, hey man, you want to play drums in this video, man? It's a tribute to Joan Jett.
Never hurts to ask.
It does
Never
not.
hurts to ask.
It does not.
And I've landed a couple of guests that I really wanted just by asking. And you'd think on the outside they'd be too busy to do this or that. And I have one that played Coachella. She's a DJ, and she was
Wow,
on a previous
that's awesome.
podcast. And yeah, all I did was ask, and sure, sure, okay. And I'm glad you guys you agreed to come on the show because Lanib Machine's a big deal. I mean, I looked at your background and how many people listen to you, and you guys have a big fan base. So I'm sure you're very proud of it.
Yeah, we're starting to pick it up. It is really awesome, and we really appreciate you, calling to us. We were totally jacked to do this, so I'm pumped. We'll it's interesting because Spotify has changed the music industry so much. Spotify has its plus and minuses, and I know everyone can talk about what the minuses are, and but that the pluses are that new bands can get an audience because there's people all
Yeah,
over the world that can hear them that otherwise would not have been able to hear them prior to Spotify. You would have had to get on the radio somewhere, around the world to get on for people to hear you. Now with Spotify, people hear you everywhere, and we have fans all over the world, literally all over the world, every country in the world. We have fans in now, and and I look at like my favorite old bands like the Clash and stuff, and they still have a lot of listeners now because Spotify keeps them relevant. You can go in, they're on all these
yeah,
Spotify playlists. And so, they still have, millions of listeners a month just because Spotify's kept that going. So there's a lot of good, that comes out of it on Spotify as well. I know a lot of people talk about the downside, but the reach that Spotify has allows artists now, to get out there and be heard. And that's one thing we appreciate about it.
yeah, yeah. Well, so some of the folks I've interviewed on this podcast and my horror podcast that their reach has been through Spotify, and yeah, like you said, there are negatives that the people love to talk about, and I've talked about them before with bands and musicians. But the flip side is, like you said, you're getting to hear a lot more people that you would have never heard otherwise. So there's a give
Exactly.
and take there.
I mean, when we released our first, released our first album home back there, I just kind of wondered, well, where are people going to start listening to us? And we put out our social media stuff, and Romania was the first place that started listening to us. I was like, wow, that's weird. Well, I
Yeah,
don't know why, but
yeah,
it so
yeah.
happened that Romania really picked up on us really fast. They were then from there went down to Indonesia, and
Oh wow.
Indonesia, and just it's gone all over India. There's we were in on the cover of Rolling Stone India a couple months back. We had a bunch of fans in India, and that really led to that. Being on the Rolling Stone India cover with all the Indian and people that love us.
Yeah, and I saw that on your website. I was going to ask you about that, so you segued into it for me. Tell me how that came about. You kind of did a little bit, but give me a little more info on that because I thought that was pretty a big deal too. When I saw Rolling Stone India, I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was awesome. It's like our team Claremont people just they're awesome. They're really great people. They know a lot of people and they talk to people and they're really great at launching new bands and stuff. They've launched some amazing bands in their time. From REM is one of the bands they launched. They've had a lot of great bands on their in their stable there, and so we wanted to put out a premiere of the video, and they just checked around to see, some people who might be interested in premiering it. And sure enough, Rolling Stone India was the place that wanted to premiere. And we said, heck yeah, we will definitely premiere this on Rolling Stone India because we know we've got a lot of people. I probably get 25 to 50 messages a day from people in India,
Yeah,
through Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger. And, I get them from all over the world, but, probably about 25 a day from India alone and stuff. And it's really great communicating people. And the internet's such a wonderful thing. They'll send me messages in their native language, and I go to Google Translate, and I can see what they actually were saying, and I can write
right,
my
right,
message
right.
back to them in their native language because I have Google translate into whatever the language is they're using, whether it's Hindi or something else, and I can put it back in their language, and so we're communicating in their native language, which is really cool.
Right. Yeah, and something similar happened to me on my horror podcast, and it probably will happen here. When I go and check my stats on who's listening on Horror 421, the podcast, last year I had one of my all time favorite artists on. And this is the reason I'm doing a musicians podcast now, because on my horror podcast, I was booking a lot of musicians just because I love musicians, and they didn't have anything to do with horror at all. But I booked them anyway because I wanted to talk to him. So I split it and made this Backstage 421. But anyway, one of my favorite musicians is from New Zealand, and she's over my shoulder. And her name's Jen Wigmore. And after I premiered that podcast, I started getting a ton of listeners from New Zealand. And now, when I look at my rankings, it's U.S. number one, New Zealand number two, like Germany number three. So I get what you're saying. It's people listen from all
Yeah.
over the world, and when you get something they're interested in, they're going to listen to you. So
Oh, I love that. That's kind of like one of those fun things about looking at your stats. And I know we're probably boring your listeners, but when you go and look at Spotify or YouTube or wherever people are, it's so cool when people send you stuff. Like people were sending us like videos they made of our song. They
oh
took our
wow.
song and made a video to it, and then sent it back to us. Like one of them, like the favorite one I got was from Japan, where somebody sent some poodles driving in a car, bopping along to our song. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love this.
Oh man, I'd love to see that. That sounds pretty cool. That
It
sounds
is.
pretty
It's fun
cool.
stuff. It's really fun stuff. That's the magic of social media. I know people are down on social media and stuff like that, but there's downsides to social media, but there's great sides of social media as well.
Well, there's something else I picked up on your website, and I'd like for you to speak on it, on behalf of Need Machine, if you can. I noticed there's a number of charities that you support through your music and videos. If you want to touch base on any of those, I definitely want you to be able to do that on this podcast and share with the listeners, you know, some of the charities that you guys are supporting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. Like I said, we kind of the punk ethos is something that we really believe in. And the punk ethos always was like treating people right, treating people well, and helping people. That was what it was all about when you listen to like the Clash and most of the punk bands, you listen to. So we kind of carry that on here. So we like that. We started out by designating charities. We thought we'd have like somewhere between 5 and 10 charities. So we thought one of the charities we do is the Trevor Project, and we have an evergreen video for that. That's around that their goal is to prevent suicide among LGBTQ youth, And so we have a Pride video set to one of our songs called Matter of Time. And so every Pride year we pull that video out, and whatever revenue we generate from that video, we send that to the Trevor Project, and we've sent them over $1,000. I think this year we'll send them another. I know that doesn't sound like a lot of money,
No, it
and
it is. Any bit helps. Yeah.
probably we're not like in Rolling Stones, don't donating tens of thousands of dollars, because we don't have tens of thousands of
Right, right,
dollars to
right,
donate.
right.
But the Trevor Project is one. Mary's Place is a homeless shelter in Seattle, and actually one of our best Instagram posts we got was from Mary's Place. Is we did a video for Mary's Place, and then we went down to Mary's Place and delivered a check to Mary's Place. And when we're there, I found out that Macklemore, who's one of our
Oh yeah.
Seattle colleagues, was there the week before delivering a check to Mary's Place. And
Oh wow.
so, I mean, obviously his check was a little bit bigger than ours. Ours was about just under $1,000. I think his was like 30 or 50,000 or something like that, and a bunch of
Yeah.
other stuff. But it was really cool that he was there the week before us, and somehow we mentioned that in our Instagram post, and I think Macklemore or somebody picked up on and shared it. And I was sitting here at the night that we put that post out, and like my watch was going ding 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 ding, and I'm like, what is going on with my watch? And I picked it up, and that's how many likes and messages we're getting on Instagram. Like in an hour, we got like 90 to 100,000 likes of that post
Oh
for
wow.
Mary's Place. And it's just like, wow, that just like showed me that stuff can go viral if the right person shares it with you. So we're still doing for Mary's Place. We also we do for Child Haven, which is another nonprofit that their goal is for they started out with kids that were addicted to drugs, or the children of drug abused parents, and they get them back to health, and help them through their life and stuff. Like, so Child Haven is another one that we do here in Seattle. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, that's a big group. That's a national group. We do work with them, and we're really on that, because we have a lot of friends, and also people in our band, including myself, who have struggled with mental illness at times through our life. And so it really means a lot to us, the work that they do out there. So we did a whole video for them as well on our song called Home, that you can see online, and then at our YouTube site. And then we also have the Nurses Association. In the middle of COVID, the nurses were really the heroes
Oh yeah.
in society at that time. And I remember watching them on the news, just grinding it out every day to help people. Even before we had vaccines or any cures or anything, and they were literally risking their lives, every day to help people. And so we made a video for the Nurses Association called Heroes. And then we also have one. We wrote a song about Marlon Brando. That kind of Marlon Brando's like our favorite actor. He's like my favorite actor, and Marlon Brando has his own charity called the Tete Arroyo Society, where it's an atoll down in the South Pacific. And so we talked to them and said, hey, we'd like to put this song out about Marlon, and we'd also like to put a video out about Marlon, and dedicate it to the society and the money. And they were like, oh, that is so awesome, we love it. And so we did that for them. Someday we'll hope to raise enough that we go down and visit the site and see all the great work they're doing on climate change and preservation of the species down there and the atoll and stuff. So it just so happens that the person who initiated Marlon Brando charity lives not far from me. So
Oh wow.
it was easy for us to get together and give him a check, and we'll have another check come up from him pretty soon. And then the last one we did was for the Ukrainian people. There's a Ukrainian center here in Seattle that we did a
Right.
fundraiser for them, and then also for Doctors Without Borders that are there in the Ukraine, basically risking their lives to help civilians. So those are all the different charity groups that we've been helping so far. And we try to generate around $1,000 a year for each one of those groups. We may come in a little bit under that, or maybe a little bit over that, but that's our goal, is to get each one about $1,000 a year because we really believe in with the work that they're doing.
Wow, man, that's amazing. And yeah, that's awesome that you're doing that, man. You're giving back and you're making positive changes. So I'm really happy to hear that. That makes my heart feel really good. So good
Yeah, well,
job,
thank
man.
you. We're really carrying on, in my view, the tradition of musicians that give back. There's a lot of them, and so we're trying to be like them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. So we're coming up close to the end of the episode, but what I want to do is I want to give you an opportunity to, and we've talked about it a little bit, but what I want to do is give you an opportunity to share with everyone where they can find the Need Machine, where they can download your album. Anything you may have coming up. I don't know if you have any tours coming up, or if you're going to be anywhere in the near future. I didn't see anything on the website, but that doesn't mean you don't have something in the works. But I'm going to be quiet and let you talk a little bit more about what's going on with the Need Machine and where the folks can find you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. As you mentioned, our website, theneedmachine.com, we got everything there. You can go there. You can get a t-shirt there if you want. That's where you can listen to the music on Spotify. We have that Spotify drop in there where you can listen and you can see our videos and stuff and read about the band. That's a great site to hear about the band. Our Facebook page is really doing very well on Facebook. We got like 42,000 followers on Facebook now, which it's not, we're not Taylor Swift or something like that with
Oh
100
yeah,
million
yeah, yeah.
followers. No, we're really jacked about having 42,000 followers on Facebook. That's a great place. On Instagram, we have our Instagram page too, where we've been putting out some reels. We have a TikTok page where Bear, our producer, puts out some really cool shorts on TikTok, and we'll have some more coming up. Matter of fact, the best performance short we've ever had is the one that we put out for St. Patrick's Day. So basically, we took She Loves Rock and Roll, and he did some animation behind it, and it just killed. It did really well. We got like 30,000 views or something like that. So for
Oh wow.
an indie band like us, that's pretty cool. So our TikTok is awesome. We do have a Bandcamp page as well. If you want to go there and download the music, and we're getting ready to start a Patreon here pretty soon. We don't have it quite up yet, but we're going to do a Patreon thing where we're going to have some behind the scenes stuff. And our YouTube page is really gay. Our YouTube channel, I should say, our YouTube channel. I don't know. This weekend we should hit 1 million views for the channel. We had, when I checked last night, we had 998,000 plus views on our YouTube channel. And so, we will have a new video up here in a couple of weeks with the Joan Jett video. And so that's a great place. You can look at our older videos. And most of our videos have a little clip at the end about the charity that we're supporting. So you can watch the song. You can learn a little bit more about the charity we're supporting there. We've got Carly, our one of our vocalists, Carly. She does all of our voiceovers on our videos and stuff. And so she's there. You can see Carly and stuff. And that's really what we got going. We're getting ready to release a new single. Like what I said, we had a bunch of fans ask for us to do sort of a ballad or a slow song or a love song, whatever you want to call it. And so
Right.
we did one, and we have a song called Maria that we're getting ready to release here. It's I think a really awesome classic ballad, and we were looking around for a guest vocalist, and we found a singer in Argentina named Sebastian, and so Sebastian is on this song. And he's just amazing. When you hear his voice, it's just going to knock you out. And so, we just got really lucky to find him. We were searching around, and we came upon him some stuff that he had done, and we just called him up, and he was happy to do it. And we're totally psyched to have him on this song. When you hear it, it's a little bit of a departure. It's because it's a ballad, it's a love
Yeah.
song, it's a little bit softer. Like if you're like an Aerosmith fan back in the day, you're listening to Aerosmith, and all of a sudden Dream On comes on. You're like, hey, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
they don't have any other songs like Dream On. Dream On is the only song that's like Dream On. And
Right.
this is kind of like that, where it's all of a sudden out of the blue comes Dream On's a great song. I love that song, but it just doesn't sound like any other Aerosmith song.
Right.
And so our song is kind of a ballad kind of song. Our fans were asking for it, and so we went to work and really wrote what we think is a really great one. And we got Dan Perez is a really great saxophone player. He's played with a lot of, appeared on a lot of great albums, including Ariana Grande and people like that. And we got him to guest sax on the bridge on this song.
Oh
It's
man.
just killer. We got some really great people on it to really elevate the song and make it sound really cool. It's kind of it's an earworm, I think. My wife got earwormed into myself because I've heard it so much lately. I'm kind of wow, I can't get that song out of my head. And I hope when y'all listen to it, get that trapped in your head as well. That should be out here. We don't have it mastered right now. We're just finishing up the mixing,
Right.
and then we're getting to mastering here in the next week or so. So in a couple weeks, for 2-3 weeks or so, we'll have Maria the single out, and it's just going to be a departure, but I think a killer tune.
Man, that's some good stuff. Yeah. And your YouTube count went up because I've been watching your videos during the week or listening to them as I work. So yeah, they've got some
Thank
great
you,
videos out there. I love the production value on them too. They're really well done and they're entertaining. And
thank you.
so yeah. And if I didn't mention some of the other band members' names, but I can go through them real quick, and you can correct me if I misstate anyone. But we have Dawn on
Sure.
vocals, we have Al, you on guitar and vocals, we have Tim on guitar, Ken on bass. You do have Carly on some vocals
Yep.
that I've heard. Glenn on drums, and Art on keyboard, and you mentioned Dan on saxophone. Did I miss anyone? If I did, give them a shout
Yep.
out so everyone can
Man, you
hear
got
about
it
them.
right there. Except we got Sebastian now coming in here, who's going to be on our new song, and that'll be the new addition to that. And it's people are going to hear his voice and go, man, he is smooth.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm definitely going to listen, and I'll go grab the album off Bandcamp, and I urge my listeners to do the same thing. And support this band. They're definitely going places, and I know you guys are going to do some more amazing things. So I've really enjoyed everything I've seen and heard so far. All right. Well, Al, thank you for joining me on behalf of Lanid Machine. I really appreciated you being on the podcast today. My name is Charles Campbell. I'm a small town horror author hosting a music podcast because I love music so much. And you can find me on Instagram at Charles Campbell Author. We do have a Backstage 421 Facebook page now, so you can also find us there. If you want to purchase any of my books or merchandise, you can go to valleyboypublications.com. And that's basically all I have today. Again, Al, thank you so much for being on the show. If you want to say goodbye to the audience.
Thank you. Goodbye, audience.
All
Rock and
right,
roll,
audience.
baby.
Rock and roll. And I'll see you again on the next episode of Backstage 421, the podcast.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Backstage 421, the musicians only podcast. Be sure to tune in for the next episode. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Listener support links can be found below. Thank you for your support.